Day sat alone in the observation deck, his forehead pressed against the cold glass. Outside, stars drifted past like distant fires that would never warm him. The station's night cycle had begun 2 hours ago, and most of the crew had retreated to their quarters. He preferred it this way. Silence was better than the stares. The space station called Harmony's Edge housed representatives from 47 different species. Day was the only human. He had been alone here for 8 months, working on a translation project that nobody believed would succeed. Earth had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy for 10 years now. Blockaded. Forbidden. Humanity was considered too dangerous to join the galactic community. Day pulled up his data tablet and stared at the same files he had reviewed 1,000 times. The incident report. The accusations, the verdict that damned his entire species. According to the Galactic Council, humans had attacked first during initial contact. They had killed ambassadors and destroyed a peace ship. Earth's protests meant nothing. The evidence seemed clear. But Day knew the truth felt wrong. He had spent his whole adult life studying languages and communication. He understood how easily meaning could be twisted, how context changed everything. Something about the official report didn't match how humans actually communicated. The timing was off. The word choices were strange. It read like someone trying to imitate human aggression rather than actual human dialogue. He rubbed his tired eyes. The algorithm he was building would analyze the original transmissions at a deeper level, looking for patterns that proved manipulation. If he could just find the right approach, he could show that the messages had been altered. He could prove humanity's innocence. If anyone would listen, the other species on the station avoided him. They whispered when he walked past. They changed direction in corridors. The few who had to work with him kept conversations short and cold. He understood their fear. They had been told humans were violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. He was a monster in their eyes, no matter how politely he smiled. Day set down his tablet and stared out at the dying star the station orbited. Red and swollen, it would collapse into itself within a few thousand years. He felt a kinship with it. Alone. Burning out, soon to be forgotten. I just wish someone would listen, he whispered in Korean, his native language. Speaking it felt like touching home. Really listen, not to what they think we are, but to what we're trying to say. The words hung in the empty air. He knew nobody was there. He knew nobody cared. It was just a tired man talking to himself in the dark. I'm listening. Day's heart stopped. The voice came from behind him, speaking perfect Korean with a gentle accent. He spun around so fast he nearly fell over. A woman stood in the doorway. At least she looked like a woman. She wore long silver robes that seemed to shimmer with their own light. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes were silver, not gray, but actual metallic silver that caught and reflected the starlight. She was tall and thin, with features that were almost human, but not quite. Too symmetrical, too perfect. Day recognized her immediately. A whisper. The telepathic caste that served as truth seekers for the council. They could read minds, sense lies, and deliver absolute judgments. They were rare and feared. He had never seen one up close. I didn't mean to startle you, she said, switching to the common galactic language. Her voice was soft, musical. My name is Ari. Day's mouth went dry. You speak Korean. I learned it, Ari said simply. I've been listening to you practice it during your solitary hours. It's a beautiful language. Very contained. You've been watching me? Day felt a chill run down his spine. Whispers didn't just observe people randomly. If she had been studying him, it meant the council suspected something. Maybe they thought he was planning something dangerous. Maybe his time here was about to end very badly. Ari must have seen the fear on his face because she raised her hands in a peaceful gesture. "Please don't be afraid. I'm not here in any official capacity. Nobody sent me. I came because—" She paused, and for a moment her perfect composure cracked. She looked uncertain. "Because I'm curious." "Curious?" Day repeated the word like it was foreign. "About humans," Ari said. She stepped into the observation deck, moving with a grace that seemed almost like floating. "About you specifically. I've been on this station for 3 years. I've read the minds of hundreds of beings from dozens of species. But you're different." "Different how?" Day asked warily. Ari came to stand beside him at the window, though she kept a respectful distance. "Your mind is quiet," she said. "Most species think very loudly. Their thoughts broadcast constantly, like signals I can't help but receive. But humans—" She turned those strange silver eyes on him. "You're like whispers in a storm, present but private. I can sense your emotions, your loneliness, your determination, your hope. But your actual thoughts are shielded, hidden. It's unprecedented." Day didn't know what to say. He had never thought about how his mind might appear to a telepath. "Is that why everyone's afraid of us? Because you can't read us?" "Partly," Ari admitted. "The unknown is frightening, but it's also fascinating. At least, I find it fascinating." She glanced at his tablet, still displaying the incident report. "You're trying to prove humanity's innocence." It wasn't a question. Day nodded anyway. "Not that it matters. Nobody will listen to the word of one human against the entire council." "I'll listen," Ari said. Day studied her face, looking for deception, for mockery, for pity. He found none of those things. He found only genuine interest and something else he couldn't quite name. "Why would you help me? If anyone finds out, you'd be punished. Associating with humans is probably against a dozen regulations." 43 regulations, actually, Ari said with a small smile. "I checked, but I've spent my entire life delivering truths that others found for me. I've never questioned, never wondered if perhaps the truths I was given were incomplete." She met his eyes. "You whispered a wish into the darkness. You wished someone would really listen. I heard you, Day, and I'm choosing to answer." For the first time in 8 months, Day felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. Real, fragile, dangerous hope. "If we do this," he said slowly, "if we work together and we fail, they'll exile you, or worse." "I know," Ari said, "but I'm tired of delivering absolute judgments in a universe that seems increasingly uncertain. Perhaps it's time someone questioned the questions themselves." Day looked at this strange, beautiful being who had appeared in answer to his whispered prayer. A whisper who wanted to listen instead of speak. An enforcer of truth who wanted to seek it instead of simply declare it. She was as alone in her way as he was in his. He held out his hand. It was a human gesture, one she might not understand, but Ari looked at his extended hand, then carefully placed her pale fingers in his. Her skin was cool and smooth, like touching moonlight. "Then let's find the truth together," Day said. Ari's smile widened. "Yes, let's." Neither of them knew it yet, but that handshake would change the galaxy forever. One quiet human and one curious whisper, meeting in darkness beside a dying star. It was a small beginning. But then again, all the greatest changes start small. Outside the window, the stars continued their slow dance through the void, indifferent to the rebellion beginning below. 3 weeks had passed since Ari first spoke to Day in the observation deck. They met in secret, always during the station's night cycle when most beings were asleep. Ari would arrive silently, her silver robes whispering against the floor, and Day would share his research while she accessed restricted council archives he could never reach alone. Tonight, they sat in a forgotten storage room, surrounded by old equipment and dim emergency lights. Day had spread his work across a makeshift table, charts, data files, and timeline reconstructions of the first contact incident. "Look at this," Day said, pointing to a communication timestamp. "The human ship sent 47 peace signals before the alleged attack. 47, but in the Council's official report, only 3 are mentioned." Ari leaned forward, her silver eyes scanning the data. "That's a significant omission." "It's not just an omission. It's deliberate," Day insisted. "Someone removed those signals from the record. Someone wanted it to look like humans barely tried to communicate before attacking." Ari's expression grew troubled. "If what you're saying is true, it means someone on the council lied. Someone manipulated the evidence." "Exactly," Day said. He felt a surge of vindication. Finally, someone understood. Someone believed him. But who would do that? And why? Ari was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was careful. "I need to tell you something about my people. About what we can do." Day set down his tablet. "I'm listening. Whispers are telepaths, as you know. We can sense thoughts, emotions, and intentions from almost every known species. It's why we serve as truth seekers. Lies are impossible to hide from us." She paused. "Or at least, they were supposed to be." "What do you mean?" Ari stood and walked to the small window. Outside, stars glittered in the endless dark. "When I try to read human minds, I get impressions, feelings, broad emotional states. But the details are hidden. It's like listening to music through a thick wall. I know something beautiful is happening, but I can't hear the notes." "Is that unusual?" Day asked. "It's unprecedented," Ari said, turning back to him. "Every other species is an open book. Their thoughts flow freely. But humans have walls, mental barriers that evolved naturally. At first, my caste believed this meant humans were hiding something dangerous. It's part of why the Council fears your species." Day felt a knot form in his stomach. "But that's not fair. We didn't choose to evolve this way. We're not hiding anything malicious. That's just how human brains work." "I know that now," Ari said gently. "After spending time with you, I understand. Humans aren't secretive because they're dangerous. You're private because you're complex. Your minds don't broadcast because you've learned to think in layers, to imagine, to create, to deceive when necessary for survival." She returned to the table and sat across from him. "Do you know what I find most fascinating? You have something my people lost millennia ago. You can surprise each other. You can hide your true feelings and reveal them only when you choose. You can tell stories that aren't true and call them fiction. You can lie to comfort someone you love." Dai thought about that. He had never considered that privacy might be a gift rather than a flaw. "Your people can't do those things?" "No," Ari said simply. "We know every thought, every feeling. We achieved perfect honesty, perfect understanding. But we also lost mystery, romance, the joy of slowly discovering who someone really is." She looked at him with something like sadness. "We lost what makes knowing someone special." The room fell silent except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. Day felt an unexpected warmth in his chest. This powerful being, this telepath who could read the minds of empires, was envious of humanity's simple ability to keep secrets and tell stories. "I could teach you," Day said quietly, "about human communication, about the things we don't say out loud." Ari's face brightened. "I would like that very much." So Day began to explain. He told her about white lies, small untruths people told to protect feelings. He explained sarcasm, where words meant the opposite of what they said. He shared poems where meaning hid between lines. He played her music from Earth, showing how sounds could convey emotions that words could not. Ari absorbed everything with wonder. She asked endless questions. Why did humans cry when happy? Why did they laugh at tragedy sometimes? Why did they say, "I'm fine," when clearly they were not? Because, Day explained, sometimes people need space. Sometimes sharing everything would hurt more than help. Sometimes people need to feel strong even when they're breaking inside. That sounds lonely, Ari observed. It can be, Day admitted. But it also means when someone chooses to share their truth with you, it matters. It's a gift they didn't have to give. Ari considered this. Is that what you're doing now? Giving me a gift? Day smiled. I guess I am. Over the following nights, their partnership deepened. Ari brought him restricted files from the Council's secure archives. Together, they discovered something disturbing. The first contact incident had been investigated by only one group, the Venn Collective, a powerful faction within the Council. The Venn Collective controls most trade routes and military resources, Ari explained as they reviewed the records. They're the Council's strongest political force. And they were the ones who declared humans guilty, Day said, feeling pieces click into place. Without an independent investigation, without allowing Earth to defend itself. They also, Ari added, pulling up another file, proposed the blockade within 3 hours of the incident. They had legislation ready, security protocols prepared. It's as if they knew it would happen, Day finished. His hands were shaking. They set us up. They orchestrated the whole thing. But why? Ari asked. Why would they want to isolate humanity? Day thought back to what Ari had said about human minds being different, about humans being unpredictable, about the walls that kept thoughts private. Because they're afraid of what they can't control. If your people can read every other species, they can predict them, manipulate them. But humans? He met her eyes. We're the variable they can't account for. We're chaos in their ordered system. Before Ari could respond, an alarm chimed. Both of them froze. It was the proximity alert Ari had set up. Someone was approaching their location. You need to hide, Ari whispered urgently. Now. Day quickly gathered his materials and ducked behind a stack of old containers. Ari stood calmly in the center of the room, her posture relaxed, just as the door opened. A tall figure entered. He wore the black uniform of a security enforcer, and his scaled skin gleamed like polished jade in the dim light. His species, the Sentinels, were known for their unwavering loyalty to rules and order. Ari, the enforcer said, his voice deep and formal. I've been looking for you. Hello, Jay, Ari replied warmly. It's late for patrol rounds. Jay's eyes swept the room, taking in every detail. Day held his breath, trying to remain perfectly still. I could say the same about your wandering, Jay said. You've been keeping unusual hours lately. Coming to abandoned sections of the station, acting secretive? He paused. That's not like you. I've been thinking, Ari said simply. Sometimes I need space to process certain truths. Truths about what? About certainty, Ari said. About the judgments we deliver and whether we truly understand what we're judging. Jay's expression hardened. You're speaking in abstractions. We've been friends since academy training. Ari, I know when you're hiding something. From his hiding spot, Day could see the tension building. He prepared to reveal himself, to face whatever consequences came. He wouldn't let Ari take the blame alone. But Ari surprised him. She stepped closer to Jay and spoke in a low voice. If I told you that everything you believed about a particular species might be wrong, would you question it? Or would you trust what you've been told? Jay was silent for a long moment. This is about the human, he finally said. You've been communicating with the human. His name is Day, Ari said. And yes, I have been. You're risking everything, Jay said, and there was pain in his voice now. Your position, your future, your life. For what? To help a species that attacked us. What if they didn't attack? Ari asked. What if we were lied to? That's impossible. The whispers confirmed what they were told to confirm, Ari interrupted. We validated evidence we never independently verified. We trusted the Venn Collective because trusting authority is what we're trained to do. Jay's jaw tightened. He looked around the room again, and this time his eyes found the space where Day was hiding. Their gazes met. Day saw intelligence there, and conflict, and something else. Doubt. I should report this, Jay said quietly. I know, Ari said. You'd both be exiled, possibly executed. I know. Jay stood in silence, wrestling with something internal. Finally, he closed his eyes. I didn't see anything here tonight. I didn't see anyone. This room was empty. He opened his eyes and looked at Ari. But you're running out of time. Others are watching. Be careful, old friend. He turned and left without another word. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. Day emerged from hiding, his heart pounding. He could have arrested us both. But he didn't, Ari said, and there was hope in her voice. He chose to question instead of obey. That's how change begins, Day. One doubt at a time. Day looked at this remarkable being who had risked so much to help him, who had chosen truth over safety, who believed in his impossible mission. We're going to need more than doubt, he said. We're going to need proof, evidence so clear that even the Venn Collective can't deny it. Ari nodded. Then we'd better find it, before someone less sympathetic than Jay discovers what we're doing. They returned to their work. Two unlikely allies united by a simple wish that someone would finally listen. The truth was still hidden, but they were getting closer, and now they had one more ally, even if he couldn't openly help them. The quiet rebellion was growing. The breakthrough came on a cold morning, station time. Day had been awake for 30 hours straight, his eyes burning as he cross-referenced communication logs. Ari sat beside him, her usual calm replaced by focused intensity. Here, Day said, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. Look at this timestamp. The data showed the exact moment when the human peace ship had allegedly fired on council vessels. But underneath the official transmission record, Day had found fragments of deleted data. Someone had scrubbed the records, but they hadn't done it perfectly. Pieces remained, like ghosts in the machine. This message, Day pointed at the screen, was sent 3 minutes before the supposed attack. It's a human distress signal saying they were being fired upon. They were defending themselves, not attacking. Ari leaned closer. Her silver eyes reflected the screen's glow. But the official record shows this message never existed. Because someone erased it, Day said, along with 44 other messages. All proof that humans tried desperately to avoid conflict. They had spent 6 weeks gathering evidence, deleted messages, manipulated video feeds, testimony from minor council members that contradicted the official story, witness accounts that had been suppressed, financial records showing the Venn Collective had profited enormously from humanity's isolation, taking over trade routes humans would have competed for. This is enough, Ari said quietly. This proves humanity was framed. But how do we show it to the council? The Venn Collective controls the judicial committees. They'll bury this before it ever reaches a proper hearing. Day sat back, rubbing his tired face. They had the truth, but truth without a platform was just words in the dark. The Unity Convergence, he said suddenly. It's in 5 days. The Unity Convergence was a mandatory gathering of all council species. Every representative, every faction leader, every major political force would be present. It was meant to celebrate the Council's founding and reaffirm their commitment to peace. "We could never get authorization to speak at the convergence," Ari said. "Not without going through official channels, which means the Venn Collective would know immediately." "We don't ask for authorization," Day said, an idea forming. "We take it." He explained his plan. The station's communication array was designed to broadcast to all species simultaneously during major events. Every screen, every translator, every neural link would be synchronized. If he could access the array's control system during the convergence, he could override all channels, force everyone to see the evidence. "That's illegal on at least 60 different levels," Ari said. 63, Day corrected with a tired smile. "I checked. And you'd need someone to distract the security systems long enough to upload all the data." Ari was already thinking through the logistics. "The security around the communications array is extremely tight." "I know," Day said. "That's why we need a distraction, something big enough that security has to respond." Ari met his eyes. Understanding passed between them. "You need me to petition the Council publicly, to demand they reopen the investigation into humanity." "It would make you a target," Day warned. "The Venn Collective would attack your credibility immediately. They might arrest you on the spot." "But it would give you the time you need," Ari said. She stood and walked to the small window in their secret meeting room. The dying star outside cast red light across her silver robes. "I've been thinking about this moment for weeks. I knew it would come." "You don't have to do this," Day said, standing as well. "I can find another way." "No," Ari said firmly. "This is the only way. And besides," she turned to look at him, "I want to do this. I've spent my entire life declaring truths I never questioned. It's time I stood for a truth I actually believe in." The next few days passed in a blur of preparation. Day worked on the override program, writing code that would bypass every security protocol he could identify. Ari prepared her petition, carefully crafting words that would demand attention without revealing what they had discovered. Jay found them on the third night. He entered their hiding place without announcement, making both Day and Ari jump. "You're planning something for the convergence," he said. It wasn't a question. Day and Ari exchanged glances. Finally, Ari nodded. "We are." "I can't know the details," Jay said, "but I can give you this." He held out a data chip. "Security access codes for the maintenance levels. They're valid for exactly 20 minutes during shift change. Use them wisely." Day took the chip carefully. "Why are you helping us?" Jay was quiet for a moment. "Because I've been thinking about what Ari said, about questioning what we've been told. I looked into the human incident myself. Just surface records, but—" He shook his head. "Something feels wrong. And if something is wrong, then my duty isn't to the Venn Collective. It's to the truth." "This could cost you everything," Ari said softly. "Then we'll both pay the price together," Jay replied. "Just like we did in Academy when you convinced me to sneak into the restricted library." A slight smile crossed his scaled features. "At least this time we're breaking rules for a good reason." After Jay left, Ari and Day sat in silence. The weight of what they were about to attempt settled over them like a heavy blanket. "I'm afraid," Ari admitted quietly. "I've never been afraid before. Whispers don't experience fear the way others do. Our telepathy usually tells us how situations will resolve. But with you, with humans, I can't predict anything. I'm walking in darkness." "Welcome to being human," Day said gently. "We're afraid all the time. We live in uncertainty. We rarely know how things will turn out." "How do you function like that?" Ari asked. "Hope," Day said. "We hope that things will work out. We hope that the fear is worth it. We hope that even if we fail, the attempt mattered." Ari moved closer to him. Tell me about hope. Explain it in a way I can understand. Day thought for a moment. Hope is believing in something better even when all evidence suggests it's impossible. It's the thing that keeps you going when logic says to quit. It's what makes humans try the impossible. Like proving your entire species innocent when everyone has already decided you're guilty? Exactly like that, Day said with a small laugh. Ari reached out and touched his hand. The gesture had become familiar over their weeks together, but this time it felt different, more deliberate. I want to understand you better, she said. May I fully connect with your mind? Day's breath caught. I thought you said you couldn't read human minds. I can't read thoughts, Ari clarified. But I can experience emotions directly if you allow it. It requires trust on both sides. You have to lower your mental walls voluntarily. Will it hurt? Day asked. No, Ari promised. It will feel like sharing a dream. You'll feel what I feel, and I'll feel what you feel. Our emotions will merge for a moment. Day considered this. It was intimate in a way he had never experienced. Terrifying, vulnerable. But also, after weeks of partnership, it felt right. Okay, he said. I trust you. Ari placed both hands on his face, her cool fingers gentle against his skin. She closed her silver eyes. Relax your mind. Think of a door opening. Day closed his eyes and imagined his mental walls dissolving. He thought of opening himself completely, holding nothing back. The connection hit like a wave. Suddenly he felt Ari's emotions flowing into him. Her curiosity burned bright, eager, and endless. Her fear was there too, but transformed into excitement. She felt wonder when she looked at him, genuine awe at the complexity of his mind, the layers of his thoughts, the beautiful chaos of human consciousness. And beneath it all, he felt something else, something warm and fierce and growing. Affection, care, something that might become love if given time to develop. Through the connection, Ari felt his emotions too. His loneliness, carried for so long he had forgotten what connection felt like. His determination, burning like a core of iron through everything else. His gratitude toward her, vast and deep, and his own growing affection mirroring hers. But she also felt something she hadn't expected. She felt his memories, not as thoughts, but as emotional echoes. Earth's blue oceans and the smell of rain. His grandmother singing him to sleep in Korean. Her voice cracking with age but filled with love. Human laughter at shared meals, the pain of being cut off from all of it. Tears ran down Ari's cheeks. She had never cried before. Her species didn't produce tears. But somehow, feeling Day's memories, experiencing his humanity, her body responded in a way it never had. When they separated, both were breathing hard. Ari touched her wet cheeks in wonder. Is this what it's like? She whispered. To be human? To feel this much? Yes, Day said, his own eyes damp. Now you know why we build walls. It's not to hide, it's to survive. If we felt everything all the time, it would overwhelm us. Ari understood now. She understood why humans told white lies and wrote sad songs and kept secrets. They weren't being deceptive. They were being kind to themselves and others. They were managing an ocean of emotions that would drown them otherwise. Thank you, she said, for letting me see. Thank you for looking, Day replied. They sat together in comfortable silence, hands still touching, until the station's lights began to brighten with the morning cycle. The convergence is tomorrow, Ari said finally. I know, Day said. Are you ready? Ari stood, her silver robes falling into perfect folds. She looked like what she was, a whisper, a truth seeker, a being of power and purpose. But now Day could see something else in her. Courage, hope, humanity in the best sense of the word. "I'm ready," she said. "Let's show the galaxy what truth really looks like." Day gathered his equipment. The override program was complete. The evidence was compiled. The plan was set. Tomorrow, they would either change everything or lose everything. But for tonight, they had shared something precious: understanding, connection, the simple human gift of being truly seen by another person. Whatever happened tomorrow, that would remain. One quiet wish answered. One connection made across impossible differences. It was enough to kindle hope. And hope, as Day had explained, was what made humans try the impossible. Tomorrow, they would find out if hope was enough. The Grand Assembly Hall glowed with the light of 1,000 bioluminescent panels. Representatives from all 47 council species filled the vast chamber, their forms ranging from towering crystalline beings to small floating consciousness clouds. The air hummed with the translation fields that allowed everyone to understand each other. Day watched from the maintenance corridor beneath the main floor. Through a viewing panel, he could see everything happening above. His hands trembled as he worked on the access panel, connecting his override program to the station's communication array. Sweat dripped down his back despite the cool air. In his ear, a small communicator crackled. "I'm entering the hall now," Ari's voice said quietly. "I see you," Day whispered back, watching as she walked through the grand entrance. Ari wore the full ceremonial robes of a whisper truth-seeker. They shimmered with silver light, and ancient symbols marked her as someone who spoke with the authority of absolute truth. The assembled crowd fell silent as she passed. Whispers rarely attended public gatherings. Their presence meant something significant was about to happen. Day's fingers flew across his makeshift control panel. Jay's access codes had gotten him this far, but the actual override would take time. He needed at least 15 minutes to bypass all the security layers. Ari had to hold the council's attention for that long. Above, the council leader called the assembly to order. He was a luminar, his body composed of living light contained in a vaguely humanoid shape. "We gather to celebrate unity," he announced, his voice resonating through every translator. "To reaffirm our bonds of peace and cooperation." Ari walked to the center of the circular floor. All eyes turned to her. "I request to address the council," she said clearly. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The council leader looked surprised. "This is highly irregular," whispered Ari. "The convergence agenda is fixed." "I invoke the right of truth-seeking," Ari said, her voice steady. It was an ancient right that allowed whispers to demand a hearing on matters of justice. It hadn't been used in over 200 years. The council leader had no choice but to allow it. "Very well. Speak." Ari took a breath. Day could see her hands clasped tightly together, the only sign of her nervousness. "I stand before you to question a judgment made 10 years ago, the verdict against humanity." The murmurs became shouts. Several representatives stood in protest. From a prominent section of the hall, a human woman rose. She wore the elaborate robes of the Venn Collective. Counselor Yuna, the human who had defected and risen through their ranks by condemning her own species. "This is outrageous," Yuna declared. Her voice carried easily across the hall. "The human verdict was thorough and just. Are we to question every decision because one whisper has doubts?" "Not doubts," Ari said calmly. "Evidence. Evidence of manipulation and suppression of truth." Below, Day worked faster. The first security layer was down. 12 more to go. "What evidence could you possibly have?" another counselor demanded. "The whispers themselves confirmed humanity's guilt." "The whispers confirmed what they were shown," Ari said. "But what if what they were shown was incomplete? What if critical information was deliberately withheld?" Yuna's face flushed with anger. You dare suggest the council was deceived, that the investigation was flawed? I suggest we ask questions we should have asked 10 years ago, Ari said. Why was the investigation conducted exclusively by the Venn Collective? Why were no independent observers allowed? Why was Earth not permitted to present their own defense? Because they had attacked us, Yuna shouted. They killed ambassadors. They destroyed a peace vessel. Did they? Ari asked quietly. Or is that simply what we were told to believe? The chamber erupted in chaos. Some species demanded Ari be removed. Others called for her to present her evidence. The council leader struggled to maintain order. In the maintenance corridor, Day's program broke through another security layer. 9 to go, but he could hear footsteps approaching his position. Security had noticed something was wrong. Ari, he whispered into the communicator, I need more time. Security is coming. Above, Ari raised her voice. I am a whisper. I do not speak from speculation. I speak from investigation. For 6 weeks I have examined the original evidence, and I have found inconsistencies, deletions, manipulations. Lies! Yuna was on her feet now. You have been compromised. The human on this station has corrupted you. Everyone knows you've been meeting with him in secret. A collective gasp went through the chamber. Day's blood ran cold. They had known. Of course they had known. Yes, Ari said simply. I have been working with Day, the human linguistic specialist, because he noticed what no one else bothered to look for, the truth. You admit to consorting with the enemy? The council leader looked shocked. Ari, you must know this invalidates everything you say. You've violated your oath of impartiality. Have I? Ari asked. Or have I finally fulfilled it? My oath is to truth, not to comfortable lies. My oath is to justice, not to political convenience. She looked directly at the Venn Collective section. My oath is to question when questioning is needed. Yuna's expression turned cold. Security! Remove this compromised whisper from the hall. She has clearly been manipulated by human deception. Security forces began moving toward Ari. Day's program was only halfway through the security layers. They were running out of time. That's when Jay appeared. He stepped from the crowd, his security enforcer uniform gleaming. I support Whisper Ari's petition, he announced loudly. The movement in the hall froze. A security enforcer supporting a questionable petition was unheard of. I have also examined the evidence, Jay continued, and I have found irregularities that trouble me. I request the council allow Whisper Ari to present her findings. You too? The council leader looked between Jay and Ari. How many have been compromised? It's not compromise, an ancient voice rang out. Counselor Hana of the Ember Dynasty rose slowly. She was one of the oldest beings in the council, her crystalline form flickering with deep red light. It's courage, something we seem to have forgotten. The hall went completely silent. Counselor Hana's word carried immense weight. I have served on this council for 800 years, Hana said. I have seen us make wise decisions and foolish ones. The human verdict always troubled me, the speed of it, the certainty of it, the lack of any dissenting voice. She turned her ancient gaze on the Venn Collective. Perhaps it is time we looked again. Day's fingers were flying now. 3 security layers left. Security forces had reached his corridor. He could hear them trying to override the door. There is nothing to look at, Yuna insisted. The evidence was clear. Then you won't mind if we see it again, Counselor Hana said. In full, with nothing redacted, with all the original transmissions intact. That's impossible, Yuna said quickly. The files are sealed for security reasons. Convenient, Hana observed. Day broke through the last security layer. His program was ready, but security was breaking through his door. He had maybe 30 seconds. Ari, he whispered, it's now or never. In the Grand Assembly Hall, Ari stood straight and spoke clearly. If the Venn Collective has nothing to hide, then they will not object to what is about to happen. Every screen in the chamber flickered. Every translator paused. Every neural link connection wavered. And then Day's program activated. The deleted messages appeared on every display. 47 peace signals from the human ship begging for dialogue, requests for clarification, offers of friendship, all time-stamped before the alleged attack. Then came the critical transmission, the human distress call, saying they were under fire, saying they were defending themselves, saying they didn't understand why they were being attacked. Then came the video footage, not the edited version shown at trial, but the complete recording. It showed Council ships firing first. It showed the human vessel trying to escape. It showed humans dying while trying to communicate. The chamber was silent except for the playback of transmissions, desperate human voices asking, "Why are you shooting? We come in peace. Please, we don't understand." Day had added something else. Cultural transmissions from Earth. Music, a grandmother singing in Korean. Art, a child's painting of stars. Stories, humans helping strangers, sacrificing for others, protecting the weak. Science, humanity's achievements in healing and exploration. He had included his own message, his voice speaking to the assembled council. "We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We have done terrible things in our history, but we have also reached for something better. We have hoped. We have dreamed. We have tried to grow. All we ever wanted was a chance to show you who we could be, not who you feared we were." The final piece of evidence appeared. Financial records showing how the Venn Collective had profited from humanity's isolation. Trade routes seized, resources claimed, contracts awarded to Venn companies that would have gone to human competitors. Yuna's face had gone pale. Around her, other Venn representatives were backing away, their expressions guilty. This is fabricated," Yuna stammered. "Human manipulation. You can't trust—" "Silence," Counselor Hana commanded. Her voice was like the grinding of mountains. "I have seen enough. These records do not lie. The timestamps are authentic. The communications are real." She turned to the council leader. "We were deceived. We punished an innocent species for a crime they did not commit." The security forces burst into Day's corridor. He raised his hands in surrender, but he was smiling. The data was out. Everyone had seen it. They couldn't bury it now. In the Grand Assembly Hall, chaos reigned. Some counselors demanded immediate action. Others called for investigations. The Venn Collective representatives were trying to leave, but security blocked the exits. Ari stood in the center of it all, calm despite the storm. "I asked the council for justice," she said. "Not revenge, not punishment, just truth. Acknowledge what was done. Free humanity from their blockade. Allow them the chance they were always owed." The council leader looked overwhelmed. "This is unprecedented. We need time to deliberate." "You've had 10 years, Counselor Hana said sharply. "That's enough time. I call for an immediate vote on lifting the human blockade." "Seconded," Jay called out. "Thirded," said another counselor. One by one, voices joined. Not all of them. The Venn Collective and their allies remained silent or voted against. But enough voices rose in support. Enough beings had been moved by the evidence, by the human transmissions, by the simple truth that a terrible injustice had been done. When the vote was counted, the result was clear. The blockade would be lifted. Humanity would be freed. Day was escorted to the Grand Assembly Hall in restraints. But when he entered, he saw something impossible. Species that had avoided him for months were standing, applauding. Not all of them, many still looked uncertain or afraid. But enough. Enough to matter. Ari rushed to him. "We did it," she said, her silver eyes bright with tears. "We actually did it." Before Day could respond, security began removing him. "He still broke 70 laws," the head enforcer said. "He must face consequences." "As must I," Ari said, stepping forward. "I aided him. I am equally guilty." "And I provided the access codes," Jay added, also stepping forward. "I am guilty as well." Counselor Hana's ancient form moved forward. "Then I suppose I am guilty too. Guilty of being blind for too long. Guilty of accepting easy answers instead of seeking truth." She looked at the three of them. "If we punish those who revealed our mistakes, what does that say about us?" The council leader looked torn. Finally, he sighed. "This matter is complex. I recommend house arrest for all involved pending further review. But," he looked at Day, "the blockade lifts immediately. Earth will be contacted. Humanity will be welcomed to the council. That much is not negotiable." Day felt his knees weaken. It was over. They had won. Not everything. There would still be consequences, still be challenges ahead. But the impossible had happened. One quiet wish, heard and answered, had changed the galaxy. 6 days of deliberation followed. Day, Ari, and Jay remained under house arrest in a secure section of the station. They were together, at least, and that made the waiting bearable. Through the windows, they watched ships coming and going, carrying news of what had happened to every corner of the galaxy. On the 7th day, the council reached its verdict. They gathered again in the Grand Assembly Hall, though this time the atmosphere was different. Less certain, more troubled. The 47 species sat in their sections, but now there were divisions visible. The Venn Collective sat isolated, their allies having quietly distanced themselves. The council leader stood to deliver the judgment. His light form flickered with obvious stress. "This council has deliberated on the matter of the human verdict and the actions taken to reveal the truth. We have concluded the following." Day held his breath. Beside him, Ari's hand found his. "First, the blockade of Earth is hereby permanently lifted, effective immediately. Second, humanity is formally invited to join the Galactic Council as a full member species with all rights and privileges." The council leader paused. "Third, an independent investigation will be launched into the Venn Collective's role in the original incident. Those found guilty of deliberate deception will face appropriate consequences." A murmur ran through the crowd. Yuna was nowhere to be seen. She had apparently fled the station during the night. As for Whisper Ari, Security Enforcer Jay, and Human Specialist Day, the council leader's light dimmed slightly. Their actions were illegal. They violated protocols, broke security measures, and acted without authorization. However, they also revealed a grave injustice that this council committed. They pursued truth when we had settled for lies. Counselor Hana rose. "I propose that their punishment be reduced to time served and removal from their current positions. Ari will no longer serve as a whisper. Jay will no longer serve as a security enforcer. But they will be free." "And what of the human?" someone called out. "I believe," Hana said, her ancient voice thoughtful, "that humanity will need an ambassador to the council. Someone who understands both our culture and theirs. Someone who has already proven he can bridge impossible gaps." She looked at Day. "If he accepts." Day's mind reeled. Ambassador. The first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. The chance to rebuild everything that had been broken, to speak for his entire species. "I accept," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The council voted. The motion passed. Ari, Jay, and Day were released from custody. Punished, yes, but also freed, and given new purposes. As they left the assembly hall, Jay pulled them both aside. "I'm going back to my homeworld," he said. "The Sentinels need to hear what I've learned. That following orders isn't the same as doing right. that sometimes the rules need to be questioned. He clasped Ari's shoulder. Thank you for teaching me to think for myself, old friend. Thank you for listening when it mattered, Ari replied. Jay turned to Day and extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. Take care of her. She gave up everything for you and your people. I will, Day promised. After Jay left, Ari and Day stood together in the corridor. The station bustled around them, but they existed in their own quiet bubble. You were stripped of your rank, Day said softly. You lost your position, your identity as a whisper, because of me. Because of us, Ari corrected. And I didn't lose my identity. I found it. She smiled. For the first time in my life, I'm not bound by what others expect me to be. I can explore, question, choose my own path. What will you do? I've been offered a research position, Ari said, studying human-alien communication and cultural exchange, helping other species understand humanity's complexity. Teaching them about privacy and emotion and the beauty of gradual discovery. That sounds perfect for you, Day said. It does, Ari agreed, but there's something I need to do first, something I need to ask you. Before Day could respond, Counselor Hana appeared, her crystalline form casting rainbow light across the walls. Forgive the interruption, but I must speak with you both. They followed her to a private observation room. The old counselor settled herself carefully, her light pulsing with something like weariness. I need to explain something, Hana said. Something the council has hidden for a very long time. She gazed out at the stars. We have stagnated. For thousands of years we have maintained peace through telepathic consensus. The whispers read minds, and we make decisions based on knowing exactly what everyone thinks. There are no surprises, no conflicts, no growth, but also no creativity, Day said, understanding. No innovation, no real change. Precisely, Hana confirmed. We achieved perfect order at the cost of progress. We became comfortable, safe, boring. She turned her ancient gaze on them. And then humanity appeared, a species with private minds, with emotions we couldn't predict, with the capacity to surprise us. The Venn Collective saw you as a threat to stability. But I saw you as exactly what we needed, a catalyst for change. You knew, Ari said slowly. You knew humanity was innocent. I suspected, Hana admitted, but I had no proof, and speaking against the Venn Collective without evidence would have accomplished nothing. So I waited. I watched. And when you two began your investigation, I made sure certain security oversights occurred. Certain files remained accessible when they should have been purged. Day felt a chill. You helped us? I removed obstacles, Hana said. You did the real work. You took the real risks. But yes, I ensured you had the opportunity to succeed. She looked between them. The Council needs humanity, not just as members but as teachers. You can show us how to embrace uncertainty again, how to create, how to hope. That's a lot of pressure, Day said. It is, Hana agreed. But I believe you're up to the task. Both of you. She stood to leave. The galaxy is changing, young ones. Thanks to your courage, we're finally moving again after millennia of stagnation. Don't waste this opportunity. After she left, Day and Ari stood in silence for a long moment. We did something impossible, Ari finally said. We changed the council. We freed your people. We made them question everything they thought they knew. We made a difference, Day agreed. And now you're going home, Ari said quietly. To Earth, to represent humanity. Yes, Day said. I leave in 3 days. There's going to be a massive celebration when I arrive. Earth has been waiting 10 years for this moment. Ari nodded. She tried to smile, but Day could see the sadness in her silver eyes. I'm happy for you. For all humans. Come with me, Day said suddenly. Ari blinked. What? Come to Earth. See it for yourself. Experience human culture firsthand. Help me build the bridge between our species. He took her hands. You said you had something to ask me before Hana interrupted. What was it? Ari looked down at their joined hands. I was going to ask if we could stay connected, if there was a way for us to remain in contact despite the distance. But she met his eyes. Yes, yes, I'll come to Earth with you. The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind of preparation. Messages flew between the station and Earth. Humanity's response was overwhelming. Celebration, disbelief, joy, relief. 10 years of isolation were ending. They were coming home to the galactic community. Day spoke to his family for the first time in months. His parents wept with joy. His younger sister demanded to meet the alien who saved us. His grandmother, now 97 years old, simply smiled and said, I knew someone would hear our prayers. When the day of departure arrived, a crowd gathered to see them off. Not all the species. Many still harbored doubts about humanity, but enough came to show support, to witness this historic moment. As Day and Ari boarded the transport ship, he turned back one last time to look at Harmony's Edge, the station where he had spent 8 months in loneliness, where he had whispered a quiet wish into the darkness, where everything had changed. The ship's engines hummed to life. Through the viewport, Earth appeared as they drew closer, a blue and green jewel hanging in the black velvet of space. Ari pressed her face to the glass, her silver eyes wide with wonder. It's beautiful, she whispered. Wait until you see it up close, Day said. Wait until you smell the ocean, taste the food, hear the music. Meet the people. The ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Below, Sol sprawled across the landscape, lights beginning to twinkle as evening fell. The transport landed at a ceremonial platform where thousands had gathered. When the doors opened, a roar of celebration rose to meet them. Day stepped out first, raising his hand to wave at the crowd. The noise was deafening. People were crying, laughing, chanting his name. He had become a symbol, proof that humanity had been wronged and was now vindicated. Ari stepped out beside him, and the crowd fell into surprised silence. An alien, on Earth, after 10 years of isolation. But then someone started clapping, then another, and another. Soon the entire crowd was applauding, welcoming this being who had risked everything to help humanity. Day's family pushed through the crowd. His mother embraced him fiercely. His father gripped his shoulders, unable to speak through his tears. His sister bounced excitedly, asking 1,000 questions at once. And his grandmother, moving slowly but steadily, approached Ari. The old woman looked up at the tall alien being and said in Korean, "Thank you for bringing my grandson home." Ari understood the words. She had learned Korean months ago. She bowed deeply. The way Day had taught her was a sign of respect in many human cultures. Thank you for raising someone brave enough to hope when hoping seemed foolish. His grandmother smiled and took Ari's hand. Come, I'll teach you to make kimchi. We have much to talk about. The celebration lasted for days. Earth's leaders formally accepted the Council's invitation. Trade agreements were drafted. Cultural exchange programs were established. Scientists, artists, and diplomats began planning humanity's integration into galactic society. But for Day and Ari, the most important moments were quieter. Walking through Seoul's streets at night, sitting by the Han River, teaching Ari about Korean food, K-pop music, and the tradition of sharing meals with loved ones. One evening, they stood in the same spot where Day's grandmother had lived her whole life. The old woman was inside, teaching Ari the words to a traditional lullaby, the same one Day had included in his broadcast to the council. I still can't believe it worked, Day said quietly. One quiet wish, one person who heard it, and everything changed. That's the power of connection, Ari said. That's what humanity offers the galaxy. The reminder that individual voices matter. That personal relationships can reshape the universe. Do you regret it? Day asked. Giving up your position as a whisper? Never, Ari said firmly. She looked at him with those silver eyes that had been the first to truly see him. I traded certainty for discovery, absolute truth for evolving understanding, a life of declaring other people's judgments for a life of making my own choices. She smiled. I traded being a whisper for being myself. That's not a sacrifice. That's a gift. Inside, his grandmother's voice rose in song, the Korean words ancient and beautiful. Ari hummed along, learning the melody. Day took Ari's hand. What happens now? Now, Ari said. We build bridges. Between species. Between cultures. Between minds that were never supposed to understand each other. She squeezed his hand. We show the galaxy that connection is possible, that listening matters, that hope isn't foolish. It's the bravest thing we can choose. Together? Day asked. Together, Ari confirmed. They stood there as night deepened over Seoul, two beings from different worlds united by a simple truth. The universe was vast and strange and often frightening, but it was also full of possibility. Full of chances to connect, full of quiet wishes waiting to be heard. Somewhere across the galaxy, on Harmony's edge, Jay stood in the same observation deck where this had all begun. He looked out at the stars and thought about courage, about questioning authority, about choosing truth over comfort. He had lost his career, but he had gained something more important, the ability to live with his conscience. On the Ember Dynasty's homeworld, Counselor Hana watched as younger beings debated new ideas, challenged old assumptions, and dreamed of innovations. The stagnation was breaking. Change was coming. It would be difficult and messy and uncomfortable, but it would also be alive. And on Earth, in a small apartment in Seoul, a human and an alien sat with an old woman and learned a song about stars and hopes, and the connections that span impossible distances. The quiet wish had been heard. The echo spread across stars, changing everything it touched. And somewhere in the darkness of space, new wishes were being whispered. New connections were being made. New bridges were being built between beings who had never imagined they could understand each other. The galaxy was learning what humanity had always known, that hope was not foolish. That reaching across divides was not naive, that believing someone would listen was not weakness. It was strength. It was courage. It was the most human thing of all. And now, thanks to one quiet wish and one person who chose to answer, it was becoming a galactic truth. The story had just begun.